For years, the story about Eala was always told the same way. A nice underdog from a country with almost no tennis history. A feel-good headline, someone to root for on the way out in the second round. And then, this week, on the most famous court in the world, she did something that forced everyone to stop telling that story. What Eala just announced, without ever holding a press conference to say it, changes the way the rest of her career gets talked about. Let's get into it. Start with what actually happened at Wimbledon, because it is still hard to believe. Eala, a 21-year-old from the Philippines, walked onto the grass at the All England Club and became the first Filipina in history to reach the fourth round of the tournament. Not the first to qualify. Not the first to win a match. The first to reach the second week of Wimbledon, ever, from a nation of over 100 million people that had never produced a Grand Slam player at this level. That alone would have been the headline. But it is how she got there that turned heads all over the tennis world. In the third round, Eala was drawn against Iga Swiatek, not just any opponent, the defending Wimbledon champion, a former world number one of the most decorated players of her generation, a woman with multiple Grand Slam titles to her name. On paper, it was supposed to be the end of the road, the moment the fairy tale ran into reality. Instead, Eala won. She took the first set in a brutal tiebreak, saving her nerve at the exact moments most players crumble, and then she ran away with the second, 7-6, 6-2. She did not just compete with the champion, she dismantled her in the back half of the match. And here is the detail that makes it almost poetic. A few years ago, when Eala graduated from the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, Iga Swiatek was there in the crowd. Invited by Rafael Nadal himself, Swiatek attended the ceremony of a teenage prospect nobody outside tennis had heard of yet. The champion watched the kid collect her certificate, and now that same kid had knocked her out of Wimbledon on center court. The student did not just catch up to the star she once looked up to, she beat her on the biggest stage the sport has. Her run finally ended in the fourth round, in a three-set battle against the Italian Jasmine Paolini, a former Grand Slam finalist. 6-4, 4-6, 6-3. Eala pushed her to the edge, and came up just short. But by then the result of the match almost did not matter, because the message had already been sent. She walked away from Wimbledon with the best Grand Slam result of her life, around £300,000 in prize money, and a projected new career-high ranking that pushes her toward the top 25 in the world. Now let me pull you in for a second, because I want your honest take. Do you think Eala is a future Grand Slam champion? Type champion if you believe it. Or do you think the top of women's tennis is still a step too far? Type not yet if that is where you land. Drop it in the comments, I read all of them. And if you are new here and you love these deep dives on the players actually shaking up the sport, hit that subscribe button before you go any further. To understand why this moment matters so much, you have to understand where she came from. Eala is not an overnight story, even if it looks like one. She was a prodigy from the start. At 14 years old, she won a junior Grand Slam doubles title at the Australian Open. A year later she captured the junior title at Roland Garros. She left home as a child to train thousands of miles away at Nadal's academy in Mallorca, growing up around the discipline and the standards of one of the greatest competitors the sport has ever produced. The talent was never in question. The question, the one that hangs over every junior star, was whether it would translate to the brutal grind of the professional tour, where hundreds of gifted teenagers vanish without a trace. For a while the climb was slow. This time last year, she was ranked around 140th in the world. Then, in 2025, everything cracked open at the Miami Open. Eala tore through the draw, beating a string of established stars and reaching the semifinals of one of the biggest tournaments outside the majors. That was the moment the wider tennis audience truly noticed her. And instead of fading back into the pack the way so many breakout stories do, she built on it. She started this season with a semifinal in Auckland. She reached quarterfinals in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, beating top 10 players along the way. She cracked the top 30 for the first time in March, hitting a career high of 29. It has not been a straight line. The clay season this spring was rough. She struggled through April and May, losing early in Stuttgart, Madrid, and the Italian Open, and going out in the very first round of the French Open to a close friend. For a young player carrying the hopes of an entire nation on her back, that stretch could have broken her confidence. It did not. She simply changed surfaces and caught fire. On grass, she won a title in Birmingham, then reached the semifinals in Berlin by beating the world number 2 and the world number 8 back-to-back. By the time she arrived at Wimbledon, she was not a lucky underdog. She was one of the most dangerous unseeded players in the entire draw. So what is the shocking announcement? It is not a retirement. Let me be very clear about that. because a player this young, playing this well, is not walking away from anything. The announcement is something she has been making with her racket for months, and it finally became impossible to ignore this week. Eala is done being the feel-good story. She is done being the plucky underdog everyone pats on the head. She is done being underestimated. When she talks about her game now, she does not talk like someone hoping to hang around. She has openly said that in an era of huge, powerful hitters, she knows she is not the biggest server or the hardest striker, and that she is still adding strength. But she insists she has other layers, other weapons, a different kind of game that the power players cannot always solve. That is not the language of a hopeful. That is the language of someone who believes she belongs at the very top, and she has been just as clear about what fuels her. After her roller coaster of a season, with the brutal lows on clay and the soaring highs on grass, she said that 2026 has proven a great deal to her. She talked about the tough moments, about leaning on her team, about how every day she feels she is competing the way she is meant to. And she said something that tells you exactly who she is. She said that loving what she does, and making sure she actually enjoys it out there, is her superpower. Not her forehand, not her serve, her joy. In a sport that chews players up and spits them out, a 21-year-old has decided that the thing that will carry her is the fact that she genuinely loves the fight. Here is the part that goes beyond tennis, and it is why this story matters far more than one fourth-round run. Eala is not just climbing the rankings, she is building something in a place that never had it. She spoke earlier this year about how the highlight of her entire season was not a match at a major, but the inaugural Philippine Women's Open in Manila, a home tournament where the stands were packed with people screaming her name. For her, it was bigger than any personal result, because it was proof that tennis could take root in her country. Every time she wins, she is not just moving up a list. She is showing millions of kids in the Philippines and across Southeast Asia that the path exists, that it is possible, that someone who looks like them, and comes from where they come from, can walk onto center court and beat a champion. That is the weight she carries, and it is enormous. Most players her age only have to worry about their own results. Eala carries the expectations of an entire nation that has waited its whole sporting history for someone like her, and rather than buckle under it, she has turned it into fuel. She plays with a freedom that makes the pressure look like it belongs to someone else. So where does this go from here? Realistically, the future is wide open in the best possible way. She is inside the top 30 and climbing toward the top 20. She is now a genuine threat on hard courts and on grass, with clay the one surface left to conquer. She is 21 years old, which in modern women's tennis means she is only just entering her prime. The path to the top 10 is no longer a fantasy, it is a projection. And the players at the very summit of the sport now have to circle her name in the draw and hope they do not see it early, because everyone just watched what happens when they underestimate her. The shocking part was never going to be an ending. The shocking part is that a player the tennis world spent years treating as a nice little story just served notice that she intends to be one of its main characters. Eala did not announce that she is done with tennis. She announced, in the loudest way possible, that she is done being doubted. And if this week was any indication, the people who kept doubting her are about to spend the next decade regretting it. If this one meant something to you, do me a favor and tap that like button before you scroll away. It is genuinely the single biggest thing that pushes these stories out to other fans who would never find them otherwise. And if you want more deep dives on the players rewriting what is possible in this sport, subscribe and stick around. There is a lot more coming.